What's up, YouTube? Mr. LMSC here, and today I'm going to be giving my Diablo 2 Resurrected closed beta thoughts. Now, there is a lot to unpack here. The closed beta ran from the 13th all the way until the 17th. I'm not actually playing on the 17th because it's just like in the morning of the 17th, so I'm just going to be sleeping and stuff. But I played 13, 14, 15, and 16. All in all, I would say I played about 40 hours, a little more than that, probably about 42 hours or so. And that had a variety of different things that we were doing, from dueling to, looking at different skills to leveling and farming and, just all sorts of Diablo 2 fun content. Yeah. So let's go into first overall impressions. I thought playing online with people definitely brought back a lot of the joy, right? It was like really fun, even though we only had Acts 1 and 2 normal, and we could only play 5 characters. They did not have the Necromancer or Assassin in there. I still thought it was really fun, and I did so many tomb runs. I have like a sorceress at level 33, a druid at level 31. I've seen other people that have had like 34s and 35s and stuff. And I mean, if you're getting that in a tomb run, it takes a long time. But it's fun. It was fun to just go in, play with people, trade with people, duel with people, do all of those things. So I really enjoyed that part. I also want to talk about the visuals. I felt were very good. We can kind of talk about that a little bit later. But I just really loved the game's look. You can definitely tell the improvement when you do that toggle. And it just is like, wow. Like, it's such a big change. I love the old graphics. And yet now when I look at the old graphics a little bit, I'm like, oh, man, they're not the best though. Like I used to be like, don't ever change them. They're perfect. And now I'm like, okay, maybe these graphics are a little bit better for sure. So that is kind of the overall piece. I think the beta was good. There was a lot of fun stuff there. But one of the biggest things from the beta is the number of bugs that I feel we ran into is a little concerning considering we're a month out. Now, I think it's very important to note that we don't know how old this build was that they've pushed, right? Because the build that they're going to push for beta isn't going to be the immediate latest build, right? They're going to do all sorts of whatever stuff and push out kind of an earlier one that's more stable and has all of that stuff. So we don't know how old this is. There's definitely some changes made, and we'll talk through some of those things. But overall, there was a lot of crashes that happened. I would say I crashed once every hour to once every 2 hours, probably. I probably crashed about 30 times in total, roughly, would be my guess. There was a lot of desync. There was, and kind of in weird ways, like Diablo 2 always has desync, but this was like a little bit extra. And in different ways than you would normally find it. And then there was just a ton of small bugs, right? Like if somebody is like, what are all the big bugs? It's like, it's hard to say what the big ones were. It was just small things. Like if you tried to identify something too quickly, it wouldn't identify it. If you were trying to use their hotkeys to fast move things between your inventory and your stash, it wouldn't always work. Sometimes it would get caught on your cursor. In the trade screen, if you put a rune word in it, the trade screen would close. If you put something that was equipped to your body, the trade screen would close. The stash, in the shared stash, you couldn't like put an item over an item and pick up the item behind it, like you normally would, right? You like click them through. You had to like move that item physically and make space and then put it in there. Just things like that, right? It was just like so many little bugs just all over the place. And then you had some big ones like world chat was just busted. I mean, world chat was a giant mess. It was just constantly players entering and leaving the trade lobby, just spamming, and then it would just bust everything and you couldn't talk sometimes and whatever. So world chat was was pretty messy. That was maybe one of the like bigger ones. But it just was a lot of little things, and that was kind of that's definitely like my biggest concern is like, cool, if it was, nothing feels like absolutely game breakingly bad. We could still play, we still had fun, we still were dueling and farming and doing all that stuff. But it just was small things that just constantly like annoyed you and made the experience a little bit worse. And it was just every step of the way. So yeah, we had the stash issues. There were graphical bugs a lot of times where it'd be like the volcano was just flashing pixels kind of all over the place. Sometimes strafe as well was like shooting graphics kind of all over the screen. That sort of stuff. Additionally, some old things got broken. Weapon swap glitch was broken. Swap casting was working in a new, different way where it was still like the same idea, but it would like kind of like teleport your character sometimes. It was like kind of weird in that way. There were a lot of features missing. So we had things like there's no console lobbies. So for a console, you just like randomly joined into a random game. And I mean, I don't play on console, but I feel like it's very easy to say when I'm playing, I want to be able to like pick the games and pick who I'm playing with and stuff. I don't just want to randomly join into a game of random people that are like in the same quest or something that I'm on, something like that. So like that's still a big feature missing that I think would be huge for consoles. Old bugs were removed. Eth bugging wasn't working anymore. Strength bugging wasn't working anymore. Maybe some other things. We don't really know. So did they fix those intentionally? Was that accidentally something that got fixed? I don't know. And then, of course, we have stuff like TCP/IP is removed now. And so there's the question of what's the replacement for online mod support going to be? Because that's how they had that before. Now, I know they're handling mods and mod support in a different way. So I'm going to put faith that they're thinking about that. And they have some other way that mods will be able to have their like private realms and stuff. Because I imagine that would be a big thing. So that's kind of some of the rough stuff. Like I say, the good is that the game does play if you take out like the crashes, right? The game plays through. You're not running into these insane bugs that make it completely unplayable where like nothing is functioning and you can't get through things and whatever. Like for the most part, everything is still functioning pretty darn well. And it looks, like I said, so good. The changes that they've made since the alpha were very good. They changed like a lot of the look stuff that we had talked about, right? Where it was like the cold like the cold color when monsters were frozen was like this bright neon blue. Like they changed it to like a much better color. Blizzard looks better. Lightning spells all look so much better. I mean, they updated those and it looks way better. I honestly don't have feedback really for any of the skills anymore, or the look of any of the skills. I feel like all the skills we've seen just look pretty good, so I'm pretty happy with them, honestly. They fixed the gems. The gems look so much better now. There's still maybe a little bit with some of the art, right? Like I feel like some of the gloves I don't like exactly and whatever. But at this point, it's like, okay, I feel like a lot of this stuff got changed. It looks pretty good. There's just, it's a little different art style. Get used to it. Whatever. I feel more okay with it now. And also like we should focus or have them focus more on the bugs. Because like I said, there's a lot of that stuff that probably needs to be changed or worked on. With that leads me to be worried some because we have only seen 5 characters and 2 acts, which means we have 3 more acts and 2 more characters on top of additional difficulties, which could bring in other sorts of bugs, right? What happens when we have a monster that's cold enchant, light enchant, fire enchant? Are those sorts of bugs going to be fixed? Are we going to have the multi-enchant stuff still exist? Will it create some new bug because there's some new way that it's interacting, or something else will happen? Will things like G rushing still be possible, or will that be broken when you're going from normal to nightmare and nightmare to hell? All of these things, right? So there's definitely questions there, on top of how will the areas and zones and the characters interact in those, and whatever, right? I mean, of course, there's still plenty of things, plus the looks of some of the stuff, right? I know, like, for instance, when I was looking at Bone Spear, it just didn't look very good in the initial thing that I saw, and I think I had made a comment about that. But does Bone Spear look different now, or does it look the same? I don't know. So those sorts of things I think still have questions, and I would really like to see that stuff prior to the launch, because seeing how many issues we've run into already now, even if they're smaller ones, it's still a lot, and it's still stuff like that could just be more. So that's worrisome. The second worrisome part from it is, will they have it ready by launch? I mean, we are a month and 6 days away. And it just feels like, I mean, I can sit here and just read through really fast some things. Refresh on the game for to see the games list is slow. Enter/left lobby is annoying. Passwords can't be one character long. Tab doesn't work between game and password. Inventory is laggy and causes FPS drops. Moving items between inventory cube stash is extremely buggy. Can't interact with personal stash while telekinesising the stash. Can't place items over other items in stash. They change, like, map opacity feels kind of off between a lot of stuff. There's the chat is just completely broken and busted in so many ways. Linked rune words do not show the runes needed to make them, and a lot of times the linking in chat, once again, chat just is having issues. The crashes, the rubber banding, Deckard Cain's not identifying items in the cube, right? I mean, it's just like, once again, none of those are game breaking, but they need to be fixed. That's just like, you need to have those things fixed, right? To make the game stable and very much just Diablo 2, right? If I'm playing the new version of Diablo 2, I don't want to be playing a new buggier version, right? I want to play like Diablo 2 like I would normally play it. So with a month and 6 days left, that does give some cause for concern. And then at the same time, they had talked about not wanting to do a ladder at the very start of the launch because they wanted to, like, stabilize, make sure servers were good and all of that stuff. And I can understand that, actually, because a lot of games don't do ladders right at launch, or a new season or whatever it is, because, yeah, when has a launch ever gone good for a game? Never, right? It always comes out. It's crashing for some people. People over in Europe are having trouble logging in because their authentication servers are doing whatever. There's this, somebody found a hack where they can just make all their characters level 99, whatever, right? There's always issues whenever you have a launch. And so, okay, maybe they don't want to do a ladder right at launch. But how long is it going to be if they're not going to do it right at launch, right? What's that time frame going to be where they feel comfortable having that league and everything? And then, and will there still be a lot of these bugs there, or what's that process going to look like? So I feel like this beta has left me just with a lot of questions. And I still give it a pretty good rating overall. I'd say it's like a 7, because I still think there is a lot of positives that came out from it. There's still so much of the game that is very solid, and the core piece is still really, really good. But that, it's the number of bugs and the types and the timeline. That's my 1, 2, 3 knockoff right there, for my rating of it. So, I go to a slight pause, right? A slight, like, let's see how it goes. And that's kind of where I'm at. So I'd love to hear in the comments where you guys feel it's at. Please be respectful. I just, you can have an opinion that's not supportive or negative towards it without being disrespectful. I feel like we really got to work on that balance. I just feel like I've been reading a lot of comments lately that are just so negative and just like cruel. And it's just, just say, if you don't like it, just be like, hey, I'm just not feeling this right now. I think I'll wait on my pre-order because it's just not looking great. You don't have to just really like dig into, and just throw all these nasty comments towards the people at the company and whatever stuff there, right? Like, we don't need to go that far. So that being said, like I say, if you got to play, I'd love to hear your experience there. If you just watched, I'd love to hear your comments from the watching, what you saw, what you liked, didn't like. And I'm sure the developers will read through some of that stuff as well and see, sort of like pieces and feedback from that. I have a survey up as well. If you did get to play, I'll put the link in the description so you can look at that and use that to just kind of give some feedback from this closed beta. And if the open beta is the same, I'll probably just leave that or create another survey at that point. Maybe if it's different, I'll definitely have a new survey. If it's the same, I might do the same one or a new one that has like maybe a few other questions added or something. Regardless, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because we have a ton of Diablo 2 and Diablo 2 Resurrected content coming up. I'm probably going to have like 50 guide videos drop in the next month for all sorts of characters and types of runs and all of that stuff. So be on the lookout for that. As always, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here and watching. Peace, YouTube.